to call our panelist, Suresh Surana sir, Sanjeev Rastogi sir, and the moderator Manoj Ajmera, and will request to our regional council member Vimal Agarwal sir to please escort them to the dais. So over the years, GCC has evolved from being cost centers to becoming strategic hub of innovation, leadership, technology, analytics, and the global decision making. So today, we can say is India is not just supporting global businesses, बल्कि हम ये बोल सकते हैं it is shaping to the businesses. So what makes this session specially valuable for all of us is that we will not just discuss theories, but will hear real success stories and the practical case studies directly from the industry leaders who have built, scaled, and transformed GCCs. So their experience will give us actionable insights for opportunities, challenges, talent transformations, governance, and the future roadmap of GCC in India. Sir, thank you so much to accept our invitation and being with us. I'm sure, sir, your insight will be valuable for all of us. So before officially start, I would request to Vimalji to please introduce our panelist and moderator.
Thank you, Sweta Madam. On behalf of WIRC, I would like to introduce our panelist, Suresh Surana ji. Suresh Surana ji is a chartered accountant, law graduate, and holds a doctorate in business policy and administration with merit ranking across professional examinations. He specializes in cross-border investment, international taxation, corporate structuring, forex regulations, succession planning, advisory for promoter and CXO level business leaders. He co-promoted a large financial process, outsourcing and offshoring venture employing over 4,000 professionals and serves on the board of several listed and unlisted companies. He is a noted author and speaker. He regularly contributes to publications including Forbes, Taxman, and Economic Times. He addresses international seminars and premier management institutes in India and abroad. Our next panelist is Mr. Dr. Sanjeev Rastogi. Dr. Sanjeev Rastogi is the CEO of Adani Group's Global Capability Center and renowned leader in global business service and shared service transformation with over 30 years of experience. He has led large-scale global operations across finance, HR, procurement, analyst, and technology, driving significant business transformation and cost optimization initiatives. Prior to Adani GCC, he held senior leadership positions at Deloitte and many other ventures. He recognized industry through leader. He is a board member of Global SS1, a qualified chartered accountant, cost accountant, and company secretary, PhD holder, and regular keynote speaker at leading global business firms. Our next panelist is Mr. C.A. Manoj Ajmera. Manoj Ajmera ji is a distinguished chartered accountant and financial professional with over a decade of expertise in corporate finance, capital structuring, and investment advisory. He is based from Mumbai. He leads an investment advisory firm specializing in equity fundraising, private equity transaction, and strategic business synergy. He has extensive experience in structuring and facilitating capital raising mandates across sectors, helping organizations achieve sustainable growth and financial stability. Known for his strategic insight and strong financial acumen, he assists business in connecting with the right investor, partners, and opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vimalji. We are really privileged to have you in our conference. So I request to our chairman, WIRC, Saurabh Ajmera ji, to please present a token of appreciation to our guest, and then we will formally start the session. So now I would request to Manoj to please take charge.
Thanks a lot, Shweta ma'am. All the distinguished personalities, on the dais dignitaries, off the dais dignitaries, Chairman Sir, WRC, thanks a lot for giving this opportunity to moderate such a distinguished and eminent panel speaker who generally being considered as a stalwart in their respective segment and always pioneering and torchbearer of the other members. And we have seen you, sir, since our beginning of professional journey, how you are pioneering the entire professional journey of audits and their respective segments. So today, the topic of GCC, which is a very pivotal inflection time subject matter of economic contributor, how GCC's growth and how GCC evaluation has significantly contributed towards economical growth. GCC generally being perceived as a setting up an office outside the country to perform any business action outside the country. So generally GCC, initially when it started in India, it was generally a kind of a arbitrary support cost action centers. It was initially towards the handling of accounting, costings, payroll, and all these back-end customer activities, customer management activities. Now it is being evolved as a, handling, engineering, risk, management, treasury, taxation, operational control, business operation management, and various other aspects. So, sir, would like to ask you, Sanjay sir, over to you, would like to ask you how the evolvement has happened. What are the key contributors and key factors which has significantly caused this evolvement and growth towards the GCC growth in the country?
So, first of all, thank you to Saurabh ji and all the dignitaries of WIRC. Thanks for giving me an opportunity, and a very good afternoon to all the fellows chartered accountants. See, GCC started back in '95 when I joined American Express. That was the first shared services which formally came to India in the financial sector. And that was more to do with the availability of talent, cost. And over the years, the first 10 years was mostly building up scale, getting right talent. And India, of course, we have the average age of around 30, 39 years right now. With a young talent available, all the graduates available, became a very hot hub because of labor arbitrage coming from the US and Europe. Europe came on later on. North America was the first one to start, and then APAC came into picture. But if you look at the last 10 years, financial services from the large financial services, HSBC, JPMC, you talk about UBS, you talk about anything, they came into picture. So GCC is more from labor arbitrage and from a transactional processing moved into value creation. And the value creation meant that high-end work started coming in. Initially, the work, first 10, 15 years was what you see is what you key in. It was more rule-based processes. And the ability to decide, do analysis, take judgment was not given to the GCCs. If you look at the last 10 years, the evolution has become that we have roughly around 2,514 GCCs in India operating right now, out of which 40s are in R&D and pretty much automotive and IP, and they're creating IP as well. Most of the firms, 60% of them have moved away from transactional work to more value creation work. They have moved away from finance and HR to more procurement, more supply chain, more analytics, more financial transactions, financial services. And if I look at our evolution in an earning group, we are roughly around a 6 lakh crore group. We spend around 1.5 lakh crores every year, roughly 30% of India's infrastructure spending. When Gautam Bhai called us in 24, he said, we have 26 different businesses. And each business is very discrete and very different, from ports to reality to cement to airports. And every acquisition was happening. So he wanted an engine which could consolidate 26 businesses, 15 legal entities, listed entities, all the compliance, all the work being done centrally in a GCC. And what we did was, we moved 90% of our finance work into the GCC, which includes treasury, back office finance, FP&A, MIS, which typically doesn't happen. We normally move accounts payable, accounts receivable, closing. So today, if you look at Adani Group, with the EBITDA of around 1.1 lakh crore odd, everything including submission to the reporting, closing of books, conducting of the board meeting, everything is done through the GCC, including all the treasury, back office, mid office. If you look at all the budgeting for the group, 86% of our HR sits in the GCC, right from, we run a payroll for 40,000 on-roll employees and 3 lakh contract workers. That's the scale. Roughly around 7 million invoices we process. The scale has moved up. And so now it's a value add, it's a value story, it's no more a labor, because in India, when you create a GCC, it's never a cost arbitrage or salary arbitrage. It's a what value you create. And the most important thing is, I think from a Indian perspective, we provide assurance to the group, because when you're handling shares and public money for 15 listed entities, and most of us deal with Adani shares, you need to make sure that you are compliant, you are giving assurance to the money you are borrowing, and to the shareholders who are investing with you. So I think the onus is now more on compliance, assurance, and moving of the value chain, and giving the power to the business to take decision faster, supporting them processes. And of course, now the next phase we'll talk about is creating digital and AI-related processes which will help things move much faster. So I think the new story of GCC will become, it will, from the global capability centers, they will become a game-changing catalyst. So that's a new definition will come in next 2 to 3 years with AI and digital coming in, and the whole landscape will change.
So, thank you, sir, for valuable insight. You mentioned about the compliance and AI perspective on the GCC segment. So, I'll come on that compliance segment, sir. As sir mentioned, that GCC has evolved from back-end accounting management services to strategic innovation hub, and it is including comprehensively very much tax compliances, tax operations, comprehensive network boundaries with respect to compliances, and setting up the entire analytics of a business operation. So with such a wide, comprehensive scope of boundaries, when we are setting up and when we are expanding GCCs in India, what do you feel, sir, the role of chartered accountant in terms of setting up the right set of designs, controls, setting up the right structure, setting up the right strategy which enable us to take the right decision? So the role of a chartered accountant in such an evolvement journey.
A very good afternoon, and first of all, thanks to WIRC and all the delegates. I think GCCs represent, I would say, twofold opportunities for chartered accountant. One is GCCs as client, and even so, GCC which we can serve, and GCCs which we can create. I think it's not limited to only serving. Now, when we look at typically as chartered accountant, when we are serving the GCCs, I always believe that GCC is the most beautiful client. And the reason I will tell you that right from the entity setup, in most of the cases, these are subsidiaries of foreign companies. So right from beginning, they want our advice and input in terms of what type of entity to set up, whether it should be company or LLP. Then they look at how it should be capitalized in terms of equity capital, ECBs or loans, or in terms of bank guarantee, or in terms of advances. Then looking at transfer pricing setup, looking at the GST compliance. Most of them will have presence in multiple states. Then you are talking about corporate tax, withholding tax, audit, internal audit. So I'm saying they typically require the full range of services which any chartered accountant would have. So subject to, of course, independence, I'm saying you can probably, the other point is, I think as chartered accountants, I always believe that our role is of acting as a navigator. So a lot of MNCs, when they come to India, they are a bit skeptical because they have heard different stories about, in terms of how a lot of, I would say, litigation or in terms of various constraints. So they actually, normally we and the legal firm are the first point of contact. It's like when you get off an airport in an unknown destination, the person who takes you from, by taxi, he is your first contact point. And if that experience is not good, somehow you lose confidence in the whole ecosystem. So I think very important that we move beyond just being a tax advisor, but also bring a business perspective that, also in terms of exposure areas. Like, for example, if you see last 15 odd years, we have had a lot of litigation in terms of the transfer pricing markup, in terms of GST, intermediary services, taxability. You have, in terms of the withholding tax on software licensing. So that whole ecosystem, when people don't mind paying taxes or people don't mind doing compliance, but they want to be clear. They don't want surprises every day. So I think our role becomes very responsible the way I look at it. And in terms of their contract structuring, like for example, right now you have new labor codes coming in. You also have new Income Tax Act, which is becoming operational. There are new safe harbor rules now, which for example can reduce a lot of litigation up to 2,000 crore, turnover company can go for 15.5%. You also have now, various new, in terms of state level benefits, which they may not be aware about. So I think chartered accountant can actually play a very, very important role. And again, I think that in case of Dr. Rastogi, for example, GCC, what we always feel that only MNCs can set up. It is not necessary. It can be set up by Indian groups as well. So I think GCC is a global capability center as long as you serve your global operations, whether the owner is a Indian group or a multinational group. So I think that a lot of Indian groups, which are becoming very huge now, they have multiple businesses, multiple operations. You will see more and more GCCs coming up. Finally, one I would just like to add, when you talked about how GCCs are becoming innovation centers and all, we have now seen that Indian GCCs are doing very high-end work, including, for example, normally you would not expect a German company to use India for their product design. They are most, I would say, protective about that. I mean, outside Germany, they would never do an automobile or an engineering product, design and research. But they are using India now for all these purposes. And similarly, when you talk about finance and accounting, we see several of companies which are now having Indian GCCs which are doing accounting for their global subsidiaries, maybe 100 plus countries, some cases APEC countries. They are also doing global tax compliance. And in terms of IFRS reporting, US GAAP reporting, consolidation. So the full value chain. I think as you rightly mentioned, it is not just transaction processing, the entire end-to-end value chain with limited oversight from the group CFO or group tax head. But by and large, we are able to do the value delivery across the value chain.
Thank you, sir. As you mentioned, the entire value chain, having a very keen eyes on the entire processes, starting from initiation till end, and how the deliveries and efficiency is being brought at the platter. That is very much important aspect. When we speak about value chain, sir, manpower becomes very much a critical part of the entire process. when it comes to manpower, leadership and retaining the talent becomes a very much crucial aspect of any manpower is retention strategy of any organization. So, in continuation of evolvement of GCC, how do you think what it differs the leadership of GCC? What the characteristics and quality of leaders of GCC needs to have, which is different, making them different from other organizations' leadership, and what are the retention strategy any GCC needs to have in order to keep the talent with themselves and to fuel this journey ahead?
I think a very good question. So, if I talk about our GCC, we have 3,000 people. By the way, sir talked about, we employ around 850 chartered accountants. And this year we onboarded 250 chartered accountants for campuses. Because one of the mandates from Gautam Bhai is bring the chartered accountants fresh. So I think there are different levels of roles in a GCC because you do different activities. So if you do an accounts payable or cash application or a basic reconciliation, we do hire graduates to come and do the transactions because they are repetitive in nature. They are more transactional. But if you look at major decision making, major analytics, major making budgets, making MIS, making analytics, you need to have that business understanding, business knowledge. So we have the higher end people like chartered accountants which come in. So what we do is we have to manage the layers in the organization and with the level of work you do and the skills you require. So what we call that word is the right skilling. So because what happens is if you hire a chartered accountant and ask him to process the invoice, he will not stay with you. He may get money, but he will not stay you for 2-3 months. So one. The second thing is you need a blend of experience. So you need Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, baby boomers, so you have a variety of people. And of course, at the senior level, what we have done now, and you define the span of control and all that, the Gen Zs right now, they don't stay beyond 18 months in an organization because they have a tendency to move up and move fast. So what you need to do about retention is give them opportunities to learn new things. So we are investing heavily on upskilling them, right from taking sessions on AI, making them more digital savvy, investing in their skills. At a mid-level, a CA level, they keep moving up, doing work. So for example, we work on 900 legal entities. We close books and etc. So as a chartered accountant, when you come in, you do the basic of accounting. Then as you move up to the senior levels and you lead teams, you become more people manager. So I think you need to have a right skilling of people, right skilling of jobs, investment in your people with the right set of trainings and availability, groom them and mature them. Of course, attrition is there, but with the right intent of putting investment in the training, learning, and upskilling them, attrition is manageable around 15-16%. That's a good number to have. Typically, industries run around 20-25%. But the top 10 in attrition, the top talent, we manage less than 10%, overall around 15%. But as a leader, you are able to connect with them, emotionally connect. And I think the most important thing is that as a GCC, the basic thing is you need to have the emotional connect with the people. You need to understand what their aspirations are, create and design programs. Everybody looks for growth and understanding. So you need to have a curated program for their development and follow through that. And we run 3-4 leadership programs to develop and groom them at different levels and different stages. So it's a very different strategy. It is all people. And you cannot have one training program fits everybody else and do this. So you need to curate and invest that. And right now with the AI and digital and everything, huge amount of investment is happening on the upskilling of people. Because I know people are talking about losing of jobs, etc. But I don't think with the right upskilling, people will lose jobs if they don't adopt AI and don't use AI. And if you are a laggard, you don't use AI, you don't use in your day-to-day work, of course you will not have a job. So you need to upskill by choice or by design. And I think that's where the investment is going right now.
Thank you, sir. Very fair point. As the good amount of investment is being made in upskilling and upliftment of employees, and obviously the right strategy always helps the employee and manpower to be there in the organization for a longer term. So coming to next point, sir, the importance of artificial intelligence in growth of GCC. So, sir, AI is getting integrated into various functions when it comes to accounting, finance, operation, risk management, everything. Everything AI is getting embedded and somehow integrated in those functions. What do you see, sir, how far this journey can be rapidly achieved during the growth of this GCC, and what do you see, any down the line, any abruption, what you feel because of AI, or any good amount of development, what you can foresee because of AI? So, because when 1980s, when Texas has set up their GCC in India, first GCC in India, they have initially came up with designing chip activity, and gradually now 6% of their entire operation, their analogs and the entire embedded engineering is getting integrated into AIs. So how do you see, sir, where this AI will take the journey ahead?
So I'll make few statements first, that I think it is not only AI, but what we call it AAA, Analytics, Automation and AI. We are still not fully leveraged analytics and automation. Even if you see most of the organizations, if you really wanted to automate all the process, leave aside AI using. So I think the full impact of analytics, automation and AI is going to be profound. There is no doubt about that. And as Dr. Rastogi rightly said, I think it is not the AI will take away your job, but it is the person who is using AI will take away your job, probably. I personally believe that, it is, you cannot ignore it. It is like a tsunami coming. Question is, and that we cannot control. This is a global movement, global technology initiative. But if you look at the past experience, for example, when the whole internet and mobility, it gained momentum. In the last 15 years, a lot of new businesses came up. Like, for example, if you look at Ola, Uber, you look at Amazon, Flipkart, you look at, if you look at Book My Show, all these businesses, look at Zomato, Swiggy, these businesses were not there 15 years back. And today, like some of these companies, for example, Ola and Uber employ more than 10 lakh, basically drivers. The Swiggy, Zomato employs more than 1 lakh people. So I think, in fact, I was hearing other day that Amul, for example, has launched an AI initiative because they have something like 22 crore cattle, which are being through various dairy farmers. And there are only 1,400 veterinary doctors. So many of the cattle don't receive proper treatment, and you don't have enough actually doctors. And they either, either suffer or die prematurely, whatever. So they have launched what is called Sarlaben as an initiative which will understand more, and the animals can't speak. So AI can actually gain a lot of insights. We don't have enough research on animal health, for example. Like 99% of the charity goes for human beings. So you don't have much data on what kind of ailments, what kind of treatment, what kind of medicines to be given. So they are using now AI for the purpose of capturing all that, what could be the symptoms, what could be the treatment, and creating bots which can give the baseline treatment the dairy farmer can himself give. So just imagine, even if there is a 1% improvement in productivity, which is very, very conservative according to me, the power and how you can use, I think, to my mind, lot of businesses will come using AI. So application, we may not develop the AI platforms like what the US companies are doing right now. But application of AI in different forms of businesses, in completely unthought applications. Like I gave example of all these businesses which 15, 20 years back probably none of us knew about. Similar, completely new businesses will come. I think we have to keep our eyes and ears open. I think agility and I would say ability to correlate with the external world is the key. I remember when we do CA, in our subject, it always used to be a word that the only change, the only constant is change. Right? I think in one of our study material that sentence used to be there. So I think you have to adapt yourself. I think there is no real choice. We don't know what will be the ultimately outcome, but no point in over-imagining the negative side also. We have to leverage as we go along. I think the Indian education system, I just at a point of little diversion, although a lot of people criticize, I think is one of the most robust system any person who has done chartered accountancy or engineering, he is going through the rigor which probably no other education system in the world goes through. So I think we have to have self-belief. We should be able to, whatever changes come, I think the biggest advantage is that we should be able to adapt. I think most of us, when we did our CA, we had the Indian Gap, we had the Income Tax Act 1961, we had a VAT. Today everything has changed. And we have adapted with all this. So no reason why we will not be able to adapt on the AI front also.
Sir, fairly taken your point, when there is a lot of resources are there in any organization, lot of manpower, human capital, financial capital, big infrastructure, massive business operation, then obviously we need to remove some bottlenecks in the organization, and efficiency matters a lot. So AI, as mentioned by you, AI plays a very pivotal role in that. And we are seeing that in our practice also, in our regular day-to-day activities also, how AI is bringing efficiency. So thanks, sir, for that point. Coming to the geographical concentration of GCCs, starting from inception in 1980, 1990, when General Atlantic came, then subsequent to that, Amazon, UBS, everyone set up their GCC. Mostly these GCCs are concentrated towards either metro or sub-metro cities. So, sir, how do you think the infrastructure development of GCC in Tier 2 or Tier 3 cities, and what are the right set of infrastructure policy or government policy, flexibility or agility they need to have in order to improve the numbers for GCC in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities?
So I think the initial first 15 years, right from early 2000 till 2010, 12, 15, it was concentration on major metros and major cities, because the fact that the infrastructure was there and connectivity was there, because these are all captive centers of the global organizations based out of the US, Europe now, Asia Pac. Now slowly, when the government started investing in Tier 2, Tier 3, the airport connectivity, the road connectivity, everything has improved. And post-COVID, if you see last 4 years back, a lot of people went back to the natives. And the talent has moved back, because there's a good amount of infrastructure. If you look at Hyderabad, you look at Pune, I'm not talking about Gurgaon, Chennai or Calcutta, doesn't have major ones. But if you look at Bangalore, so the infrastructure has not grown to support that kind of growth. So Tier 2, Tier 3 cities have become very, very attractive for both from a real estate, both from a talent perspective, because a lot of people wanted to utilize that hybrid and you go back to the natives. So that became the hub. And Tier 2 cities also, Tier 3 also offers a very good education and the talent availability. The other thing which is now the government of Gujarat, for example, we had a panelist who were talking about Gift City. But if you look at setting up a GCC in Ahmedabad, you get government subsidy, you get reimbursement on PF, you get reimbursement of salaries. You look at government of Karnataka, you look at government of Andhra. So many of these are offering SOPs, because it's not the direct employment which the GCCs do, it's the indirect employment which Sir talked about in terms of transport to that facility, the food vendors, the electric vendors, and the multiple vendors which it creates an indirect employment. And lot of firms. So for example, in our group, currently in Adani Group, we have at least 50 firms of chartered accountants who are working with us in the ecosystem, right? So it also involves professional this thing. We have Sodexo, we have 600 sites. So we have as many vendors, as many our GCC spread in 300 sites. So we have vendors, we have who support this. So we create an indirect employment as well, and growth of that city and that where these vendors are there. So I think Tier 2 or Tier 3 is going to grow, because the real estate is available, the technology is available, and connectivity has improved a lot. And now the biggest challenge was if you look at the Silicon Valley, we used to tell Bangalore. But if you look at IT talent, is available in Hyderabad in abundance now, or in Gurgaon or this thing. The only thing which has happened with these 4 metros is they have created a niche in this. So Gurgaon is more analytics and all that. Bangalore is more technology. Hyderabad is more financial services. Chennai again financial services. But with Pune and others coming in, Visakhapatnam and Ahmedabad and many other cities, I think we'll see a new GCCs coming into these places, ecosystem improving, infrastructure much better, and talent availability. So I think that plays on a mind of when somebody coming in here and seeing like what is the attrition rate and what is the cost of inflation, what is the talent availability. I think these tier 2, 3 offers a compelling business case to grow there. And that's going to happen in next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you, sir. But in terms of government policy, if you want to get 2-3 key points, what government policy where it needs to be adaptable or it needs to be changed for the purpose of growth in tier 2 city. Obviously, it's growing, but what are the more points where can, the flexibility needs to have at this point of time? Just
I think the major thing is the connectivity and infrastructure development, because that's how you get the talent there, how do you grow. So I think a lot of private players are coming into the partnership. So what government is doing, it's doing a private play partnership. If you look at all the highways being developed, all the internet digital capability, and I think infrastructure is getting built in these cities. Airports are, now we have 154 airports now with regional connectivity coming in. Once the airlines grows the number of planes, I think the connectivity will definitely improve. And I think that is where the government is investing, is encouraging to come. And they're offering, in some cases, I know, we were in Bhubaneswar when I was with Deloitte, they offered a subsidy of 50 rupees on a rent. They wanted the firms to come. So place like Coimbatore, places like Bhubaneswar, Vizag, Ahmedabad. So you are getting a lot of government jobs, and government is willing to work with you, invest wide on the policies of APA, transfer pricing and everything the central government is working. But on infrastructure side, they're definitely investing, and they're planning to work with industry forums. We have multiple industry forums like NASCOM, which supports this and drives this. And also they are working on campus to corporate programs. So right now you go to the government colleges, you go to the talent, and then creating those hubs, and then you hire them and bring them on the board. So I think there's a lot of partnership which is happening with the corporates, with the government, and they are looking for the policies. And policies are becoming very user friendly, and they encourage investments and they encourage employment generation. So I think there's a very healthy partnership which is happening right now.
thank you, sir. In continuation of that, sir, if we go to the statistical number of GCCs, right now approximately 1500 to 1800 GCCs are there in India, and approximately more than 2 million professionals are having touch base with the GCCs. They are indulged in GCCs operations and somehow catering to GCC services. Down the line, it is expected these numbers are going to be 2,500 to 2,700 approximately in 2030, and probably more than 4 to 5 million professionals would be somehow connected with GCC, as per a report of a big research firm. And probably 100 to 110 billion dollar is the major contributing factor by GCC towards the economic development of the country. So, sir, in such a huge, where the landscape is such a huge, potential such a big, we in our fraternity, most of all the members are CA. So, apart from compliance, apart from designing the legal framework, apart from consulting and advising, what other advice you would like to give to our member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in terms of strategic business advisory, business acquisitions, business consultancy, in such a huge, where the landscape is such a huge, where we can have a very crucial role or a instrumental role towards the growth of GCC?
So I'll just share my personal experience. We actually co-promoted 2 ventures. One was in 2004 when we started doing financial accounting for US companies from India. And it grew to about 600 people in 5 years, which was end-to-end financial accounting. And then 2013, we set up another venture, co-promoted another venture, which is now almost 4,000 people. Mainly now it has become like a global capability center, because it is not only serving, it is serving multiple countries, doing end-to-end, entire business process. Not that it is doing a support service. Earlier India used to be still everything review was done in the US. Now we are directly delivering to the end customer. We can move to the full value chain. So what my first point would be, it is not necessary that we are only an advisor. We can be part of the movement itself. And for example, now there are also the model of build, operate, transfer. Some clients who really want to, who are not having the huge infrastructure or team globally, they want to set up a 500 people setup. You can actually, they really don't know which city to go to, like we just talked about tier 2, tier 3. You land in New Delhi or Mumbai, you don't know which city, you hear all different state policies. So imagine if you were to go to, say, Brazil, and when you get out of the airport, you have all different cities. You don't know which place to go to. So if there is someone who can guide, which in terms of location, in terms of what is the talent availability, what is the costing, you actually then build, operate, transfer could be one opportunity. Another opportunity could be a lot of clients who are actually now doing their global tax compliance, global accounting here. We can do the entire, like for example, we are also doing where we do the audit procedures which are relied upon by the auditors of the overseas countries. Because the GCC of the client is in India, so he expects that that work can be done in India. So that is another opportunity. Tax compliance. I mean, I was other day, if you look at the goods and use tax in US, it is extremely complex. People who are complaining about Indian GST or VAT system should understand the US, where the rate varies by the state, rate varies by the city, rate varies by the county, and the huge number of complexity. So I think, we are capable of mastering any system because we are used to so much complexity that. So even for example in UAE, in many of the Middle East countries, when they introduce transfer pricing and the minimum corporate tax because of OECD, they don't have the transfer pricing capability. They don't have corporate tax because some of the countries never had any tax. Lot of work opportunity can be done by Indians here. We don't have to only look at local. What I'm trying to say that we can think about the global opportunity, global role which we can play. And, talking about when earlier you talked about Gen Z and Gen Z, the average tenure being 18 months. I think all said and done, while we all want to pat our back, let me just share a couple of little provocative things. That because of automation AI, and we were discussing earlier, that lot of work may get back to the US, they may not need so many people or other countries. And we are seeing that last 25 years, we have grown on the back of very constructive collaboration with the US and other advanced countries. It is not necessary that the same approach may continue. We are already seeing, last 1 year, there are some signs of, I would say, stress in that approach. And the second thing is all said and done. Today with, 1.4 billion people and a 4 trillion economy, what is our per capita income? It is $3,000. US per capita income is $85,000. So I think it is, I would say, very, very critical phase. Right now we are talking about geopolitical situation, rupee sliding. So this is a very challenging period for all of us. Whether you are as an advisor, whether you are an employer or whether you are an employee. And it is our collective responsibility to participate in nation building. And for that purpose, proper work culture. I think productivity has to be the key, not the labor arbitrage. Labor arbitrage was available when we were competing with let's say somebody working in US versus India. But if you are now going to compete with the AI agent, who may be much, much cheaper, that hypothesis may not hold true. History cannot always be extrapolated. So I would really urge all of us to really tighten our belt and really focus on productivity, upskilling, as you are rightly doing. As Dr. Rastogi mentioned, all of us need to upskill ourselves. All of us need to make sure we capture all the global opportunities. We do good work. We don't, this attrition. Let me tell you, one of the big things, MNCs are very uncomfortable. They give an offer letter and the person doesn't turn up on the day of when he's supposed to join. It sends a very poor message. Similarly, people leaving, if you see all great leaders, right from whether you see Sundar Pichai or you see, if you look at Dr. Deepak Parekh or Mr. Kamath, they have spent their entire life to build world-class institution. You don't build a world-class institution in 18 months. So this short-term gratification, getting a 50,000 rupees increase, 1 lakh rupees increase, we have to go beyond that. And that is a collective responsibility. I'm saying it is whether it is, and that as a whether you are as a professional, as an employee, as an employer, we must take this responsibility.
Yes, sir, very fair point. You know, bringing the efficiency on the platter and productivity is much, much crucial, and this is a collective responsibility. Sir, so coming to the next question, Sanjeev sir, you heading Adani Group GCC. Again, it's a big group, more than 3,000 employees are there. Would like to have some idea, and can you flash some lights on what your group is doing, and you know, in terms of future expansion, means if we can have some brief idea about it, whatever could be disclosed.
See, we are currently as a group size of 6 lakh crores in Indian rupees, roughly around 200 billion. So we want to reach around 10 lakh crores in the next 3 years. We are majorly now 26 different businesses, right from cement, power. We are India's largest power producer with 15%, so that will go up with 30 gigawatt. So largest renewable power. We have 9 airports right now, which may double in next few years. If you look at cement, we are number 2 after with the ACC Ambuja. We have acquired. Now we had recently acquired JP Group. There are further acquisitions coming in. So I think currently our investment is around 1.3 lakh crores a year. The group is looking at investing in from next year onwards, this year onwards, 2 lakh crores a year in the infrastructure. So roughly around 30-35% of infrastructure spend will be done from Adani Group. We run the largest sports share in the group. In reality, we are growing very big. Next is healthcare. We are coming a big way. So I think with 26 different businesses, I think the group is like to consolidate and move into number 1 position. Most of this, I mean, is expanding across India. The footprint is expand across India. If you look at our ports, airports, they're all spread out. Cement plants, of course. So we are, and the major investment for the Adani Foundation is happening in these cities. Mundra, if you go, you'll not even recognize what it was 15 years back and what it is. So building co-creating the education there, healthcare and all that. So that will happen is the interiors, there's a huge amount of investment. We opened a grinding factory a few days back in Chhattisgarh. So a lot of these cities, you will see huge amount of development happening. The new thing is a data center. So we are opening a huge data center with Google in Visakhapatnam. That's happening. We are pretty big in investment in AI right now with global partnership. So you see various interests, but mostly it will be logistics and power, where you will see a huge amount of growth and investment happening from a group perspective. Sir talked about efficiency. So our mandate has been very sharp. My headcount is frozen at 3,000, whatever level of business grows. So we'll grow, we'll double our size. We have doubled our size in 3 years. So what we were into 2019 as a group, we are adding every year in the group. So our next year EBITDA is roughly around 1.3 lakh crores or something, which is huge. But I think if you look at our GCC, it will remain at 3,000. But what we'll do is we'll have equal amount of, I call them as a cobotic workforce. So it will be humans plus bots plus AI agents, as I talked about. So it's a mix of this to manage that kind of volume. Our automation, some of the things we have done in automation, earlier invoice used to take us 2 days to process and post. Takes now 3 minutes with the order. We process around 7 million invoices, 70 lakh invoices. We have created an agent to manage our duplicate payments, which blocks everything. We are looking at completely touchless process of invoicing, auto posting. We are looking at completely revamping our close of books because we have board meetings, numbers to report every quarter. We have 15 listed entities. So I think the scale is huge. It's very complex. 900 legal entities we need to close, sign and sign up. So we are going to adopt from a GCC perspective, manage within the same headcount, but embrace the digital and technology and automation, as I talked about, and analytics to help business to take decisions faster. So I think AAA is the way we are going, but we'll have a cobotic workforce, equal amount of humans and digital workforce working for us.
So you have very visionary and crystal clear targets and visions. So obviously, you know, you would achieve this, and it would fuel to your group's growth journey and nation growth journey. Sir, you already stepped quickly. If we can, get an idea about you already stepped in this journey. So what are the instrumental factors you are planning to cater towards growth of this GCC segment? So what are your plannings towards this journey, sir?
So we have, as I said, again, twofold approach. One is how to assist the GCCs across all the spectrum. So we have a separate task force. We are doing workshop, publications, just to make sure that our clients are fully guided and we avoid as many surprises as possible. And secondly, of course, is to participate in this whole exercise. And I think also to see the trends which are happening in terms of the AI, machine learning. And also I would like to add that while AI is important, I also say that AI, NI and EI, all three things will be important, which is the artificial intelligence, natural intelligence and emotional intelligence. I think emotional intelligence also, as like if you see many times when you get automated responses, people are not liking it now. People want the human touch at the end of the day. So I think we should not get overawed. Yes, no doubt we have to embrace and integrate, but let's not, overlook the importance of, our own. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So navigating the client in a right way with the right structure and obviously, helping them in all segments, that should be a key focus for all the practitioners in this practice. Sir, जो कुछ भी अभी तक सुना आपसे towards how the evolvement of GCC has happened और कैसा हमारा the government is helping us and how various GCC has expanded their horizon starting from one activity to multiple activity. After hearing all, just चार पंक्तियाँ जो मैं इंडिया के लिए बोलना चाहूँगा कि घर बैठे दुनिया के कारोबार को संभाल लेते हैं, घर बैठे दुनिया के कारोबार को संभाल लेते हैं, दूर देशों में बैठकर भी रिश्ते कमाल के निभा लेते हैं। यही तो जीसीसी का नया दौर और पहचान है, जहां लागत से आगे बढ़कर नवाचार ही असली सम्मान है, नवाचार असली सम्मान है। So with this, sir, last question to each of you. As we have evidenced the GCC success story. One example from your side where a big group has started from a single activity and now expanded their horizon to multiple activities or, covered their entire business operation or business activities. So
no, I can talk about our own group. So we were doing traditional finance. So we have brought in analytics, we have IT, we have techno-commercial, we have HR. Now we are looking at M&A. So treasury, budgeting, F&A. So I think the spread is across. It's just that what you cannot do in GCC right now, that's a question we ask. And that's a question our chairman asks always. Why it should not be done in the GCC? So I think it's a reverse question now. It's a greenfield project. We support almost 8 to 10 different processes. And except for where you need to be closer to the customers or where you need a very specific niche knowledge, everything else is done in the GCC.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I would just like to share one, obviously, example which all of us are aware is about Accenture. Accenture today, I think, employs more than 3 lakh people in India. And Accenture was a breakaway when Arthur Andersen had a problem. Their consulting business, Andersen Consulting, then later called Accenture. Actually, it was born out of a crisis. And today, Accenture does revenue of $70 billion, which is more than what the largest of the big 4 does globally. It is almost 70 billion, and I think Deloitte is doing about 65 billion, which is the largest out of the big 4. And it has fully leveraged India across all the services. The largest workforce of Accenture outside US is in India. So it's a classical case of how a collaborative journey has created a world-class institution. And again, this is an example for all of us that we sometimes get too limited to our conventional areas of, the tax audit and the statutory audit and tax filing, which in fact are getting more and more automated. So like if you look at now the GST or even income tax, you get pre-populated returns. So compliance work is going to go down. So I think the key is to basically leverage how Accenture has done. I mean, that's a great example of a similar background entity leveraging technology and India to build a world-class institution.
Thanks a lot, sir. So, hearing all the conversation and your deep insights on GCC, it seems that GCC is not only about cost arbitrary strategy, it is all about handling the entire business operation. India is definitely going to be a global innovation hub of GCC. Already it's pioneering the globe in terms of setting up good GCC. It is, contributing around more than 50% of global GCC as of the moment, and we hope it is now, the ratio is going to be increased down the line. So with this, would like to conclude the session, sir, and it was very interesting to hear your deep insight on this session. Thanks a lot, sir. और 4 लाइनों में अपनी पंक्तियां मैं व्यक्त करना चाहूँगा जो वीसीसी और जो हमारे भारत देश के लिए है कि प्रतिभा की पहचान और प्रौद्योगिकी का प्रकाश है. प्रौद्योगिकी मीन्स टेक्नोलॉजी. सो प्रतिभा की पहचान और प्रौद्योगिकी का प्रकाश है. भारत बढ़ रहा वैश्विक विश्वास है. संरचना सफलता और समृद्धि का सार है. जीसीसी से उज्जवल होगा भारत का संसार है. भारत का संसार है. विद दिस ऑल, थैंक यू ऑल मेंबर्स. थैंक यू.